listening to the Morning Mashup, a production of Common Ground Media Group, Oklahoma, only on K98Talk.com.
And hey folks, welcome to the Morning Mashup, even though at this point it's damn near the afternoon. My name is Dave, I'm your host. Haven't done this in a while, and I am homesick with the bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that. So I figured I would, use my time to a good, Jesus, I can't even put together a sentence today. Yeah, I would try to not waste my time just watching TV. Well, and I'm kind of caught up on most of my shows. But we'll get into TV here in a little bit. So, Morning Mashup, K98Talk.com, Common Ground Media Group. Hope everyone's having a great day. And, this show talks about a whole bunch of everything. It hasn't been on the air in a long time because, well, to be completely honest, I just haven't been up to it. But that's a whole other story. I did start a second job, undisclosed location, doing undisclosed semi-government related work. It's not exciting, it's not fun, but hey, it's an extra check. And that is if I still have the job when I come back, considering I'm still in training and I've already called in sick. But again, I got the bronchitis. And so yeah, we all know how that goes. Anywho, so yeah, today, current events. I was looking at some current events, trying to see what's going on in the world, because to be completely honest, I'm not keeping up with much of anything. The Pope got to hang out with President Obama. I'm sure Obama thought it was awesome. Who knows what the Pope thought? The Pope's a humble guy. The Pope hopefully thought Obama was a D-bag. Let's see. Vladimir Putin's pushing Russia into the Ukraine. That's bad. It's not going to end well. And apparently Stephen Colbert did some politically incorrect joke on Twitter, and people are now calling for his show to be canceled. Seriously, folks, that show is all about political incorrectness. So if you can't handle it, then don't watch. Really, I mean, it's all tongue in cheek, and it's all great, as long as he's making fun of freaking Fox News and Bill O'Reilly, which that mess is hilarious. Don't get me wrong. Well, I say that. Never actually watched the show. Clips I've seen and heard, funny. But just in general, making fun of Fox News is good time fun. But also making fun of MSNBC is also good time fun. And if you're going to just say some stupid crap and offend somebody, well, more power to you. Apparently the ACLU settles a lawsuit. Some students sued their school because of something that happened on Facebook. I haven't read it. I don't care. So let's go ahead and go on to stuff I actually do pay attention to. As bad as that sounds, because yes, I vote, and I try to pay attention. It's just so damn depressing. You pull up any news site, especially Drudge Report is really guilty. You pull up the Drudge Report, and it's like, oh my god, the world is ending. Seriously, it is Armageddon. We're screwed. And I can't deal with that, man. I have a hard enough time keeping my own crap together. So, but what I do like is, as sad and pathetic as this sounds, is I like me some TV. And there's some good stuff going on TV this season. Seriously, really, really good stuff. First of all, Arrow is in its second season. Most recent episode was called Birds of Prey, and it focused on the returning Huntress, a character by the name of Helena. And they gave her a new last name because originally her name was Helena Wayne way back in the day. And then that got Bertinelli, or I don't know. I think it's Bertinelli, but I might just be thinking of the chick that married Eddie Van Halen back in the 80s or 90s or whenever that was. Anyway, Huntress is there. Black Canary's there. And Laurel, who is Black Canary's sister and Oliver's former love interest, is there, and it's a really, really good episode. Episode ends on a great note with Thea getting into the car with Slade Wilson, who is turning into Oliver's big enemy. And I tell you what, that show has gotten it's been great. since its inception, and it's just getting even better. So it will hopefully keep going, and I just can't see anything but greatness coming out of this show because it is really that freaking outstanding, and everyone involved should be extremely proud. Um, let's see, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a repeat this week. The last episode was a Thor kind of tie-in, not as much a Thor movie tie-in as Lady Sif came down and she had to find some Asgardian chick who had just broken out of Asgard jail. And that chick was played by the same actress who played Mera, Mera, for those who can't understand my raspy, sexy voice, who played Mera in Smallville. Because it took me a while. I was like, dude, I know that lady from somewhere. And yes, she played Aquaman's girlfriend / wife in Smallville. And she was very good. That was a really good episode. That's also a show that I think has struggled in a lot of ways because it's set in this comic book universe. And they've had very few actual comic book characters in it. And they've had very few actual superheroes or superpowers in the show. And it's mostly been a kind of espionage type show. But it's been really, really good. All right, the one show I am not caught up with this week is Revolution. There's an episode that came out this last Monday called Why We Fight. I haven't watched that one yet. This season of Revolution has taken a lot of really cool twists and turns. They've taken the whole thing in different directions I didn't think they would. And I have thoroughly enjoyed it because I have no idea what the hell is going to go on. I mean, the first season was all about there's no power, then they turn back on the power, and then this crazy fool launches a couple nukes, and they turn off the power, and it ends in a cliffhanger. Spoiler alert, by the way. And second season has been about what's happened after then. Well, 2 cities were destroyed. The quote-unquote United States government shows up, and it just kind of went like that. Oh, and for those of you who don't know, we use a couple of, side note, we use a couple of different formats here on Common Ground Media and with K98 Talk. And the one person who's listening right now, my good friend Steve, asked why I didn't use our other platform, Blog Talk Media, or Blog Talk Radio, instead of use a Spreaker. And that's entirely because the show intro is not on BTR, and I don't have the MP3 of it anywhere. So that's why. And I'm lazy, so I didn't want to try to figure out a way to download it or search my other computers, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, that's why. Anywho, all right. Next up is Once Upon a Time. This show's on its 3rd season, and it had a pretty lengthy hiatus during the Christmas break, which most shows have a hiatus. And it ended on one hell of a cliffhanger and has come back in a really interesting way. And they've brought in elements of The Wizard of Oz, including the Wicked Witch of the West, who we come to find out is the Evil Queen's sister, or half-sister. Again, spoiler alerts here. And it's just really going in a fascinating direction. Everyone who had been sent to Storybrooke had been returned to the forest, except for Emma and her kid, Henry. And then the spell was undone, and everyone left except Emma and Henry. And now they're all back, and everyone has all of their memories except Henry. So it's a nice little twist, because when the show started, Henry was the only person who believed that these people were all actual fairy tale characters. So yeah, that was that was pretty cool. Let's see, another show that I follow is Grimm. Grimm is also on its 3rd season. The latest episode was called The Show Must Go On. And you know what, son of a bitch, I don't actually think I've finished watching that episode yet. Anyway, so far it is the there's a carnival in town, and the carnival uses the Vessin, which are in the show, mythical creatures, magical creatures, are actually people that can change and show this other side of them. It's called Volga. For some reason, all of their terminology is German. Um, and so there's this carnival that goes around and uses various different Vessin to change and make a show. And one of them's going basically nuts because if you do it too much for no reason, then it can affect you, and all of a sudden your animal spirit takes over and it's bad. But that's really good. The story's really progressing. We're learning more and more about kind of the hierarchy in this universe, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what happens with the rest of the season, and then with the next season, because I'm hoping it gets picked up again. I don't see why it wouldn't. It keeps getting good ratings. So I was just asked by my one listener and good friend what I think about the Heroes reunion coming back to TV. I think it's pretty cool. I've never watched Heroes, so I don't have a point of reference for it. I've heard it's a really good show. I don't know if they're going to get the entire original cast back, or if what's her name, Hayden Pennance, is too big of a star now, even though she's doing that show Nashville, which I think she is. I don't know. I keep seeing ads for that mess on Hulu, which I watch pretty much all of my TV through Hulu Plus, which is a phenomenal service because I don't have cable. I'm not going to pay for cable, not with the combination of Hulu Plus and Netflix. $18 a month, $16 a month, whatever it is, get almost everything I want. I mean, the only show I'm unable to keep up with this season on Hulu is How I Met Your Mother, because for whatever reason, Hulu and CBS don't have a working contract, which is irritating as hell. Oh, and I can't watch TNA Impact Wrestling, which we will get to wrestling in the next little bit here, because that is on my to-do list. I actually was studious today. I was thinking about the show and, what could I talk about? Because normally when I get on the air, it's a white-hot mess. And so I actually listed out subjects and things. So we are going to talk, for those of you curious, I know I've already babbled on for about 15 minutes here, but we're also going to hit up some stuff going on in pro wrestling today. And we're going to talk about a couple of movies. And I'm going to do a couple of album reviews, impromptu, off the cuff. And I got a couple songs we're going to play some clips of. Since we're not legal with the music, I can only play about 30 seconds of these songs instead of the whole songs, which is a shame because they're really, really good songs. But back to TV. My last, well, actually not before I get to my last one. So Heroes coming back, probably going to be really cool. I need to go back and really rewatch that, or watch that show for the first time. Another show coming out next season that is probably going to be really, really good is the show Gotham, which at first was billed as this early years of Commissioner Gordon, and now it really is just, we're finding out it's more the early years of Gotham in general, and it's going to be, in a lot of ways, Batman's answer to Smallville. It's going to have a young Bruce Wayne. It's going to have a young Selina Kyle. It's going to have early iterations of the Joker and the Penguin. And it's going to be really, really fascinating. Donald Logue is going to be in the show playing, if I'm not mistaken, the police chief or commissioner, whatever it is. The actor's going to be playing Commissioner Gordon. Looks pretty fitting for the part. Younger dude. Should be really good. Another show that's coming out in the comic book genre, possibly next season, is Constantine, based on the John Constantine character created by Alan Moore during his famous run on Swamp Thing. Should be really, really good. The guy that got to play him, at first I wasn't sure, and then I saw him decked out in all of his glory, and it looks awesome. And that actually reminds me of a show I didn't talk about that I do follow, which I will throw in real quick, because it actually ties in with Constantine is supernatural. Did you know that the look for the character of Castiel on Supernatural is based on John Constantine? I didn't. I found that out. I thought that was pretty cool. Um, this season of Supernatural has taken a really interesting turn in the relationship between the brothers, and it's getting, in some ways, some of the positions have flopped, and it's I can't remember what the most recent episode was titled, but it's been fascinating. There was after the fifth season, they seemed to kind of lose their way in a way. Not that the show wasn't good, but it didn't have that. It didn't feel like there was an end game or they knew where they were going. And this season has gotten some of that back, which has been really good. But yeah, Constantine should be really cool. I'm looking forward to that. Another possible show coming out is going to be The Flash, starring Grant Gustin, I think his name is. He has been in 2 episodes of Arrow, spin-off of Arrow, and in the second episode, which was episode, I believe, 10 of the season, he got hit with the lightning to get his powers as Barry Allen, becoming the Flash, and he will show up again in episode 20, which, if I'm not mistaken, they're on 15 or 16, I think was the last one. So we've got that coming up soon. Originally, it was going to be a backdoor pilot for Dirkader, the Flash, but it's been decided that the Flash is going to get a full-blown pilot. The backdoor pilot is what they did last season during the Vampire Diaries to introduce the show, the originals, which I'll actually talk about both of those here in just a second. But they've released some pictures of the Flash's costume. The headpiece looks fantastic. The rest of it, I'm not sure, because it's really hard to tell. I mean, you look at set pictures of costumes, and sometimes a costume on set can look really cool, and then you see it in the whole edited, finished product, and it looks like complete poo, and vice versa. So, I'm a little leery, but it doesn't look like complete ass. Another cool thing that I think is going to be really, really neat is the dude who played Barry Allen in the 1991 series, or 1990 series of The Flash. John Wesley Shipp, I think is his name. He is going to be in the show as well. So I think that's really cool. One of the things I loved about Smallville is the little tips of the hat that they did to all the various other iterations of Superman. And they would bring in people. Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, Annette, the lady who played his mom played Lana Lang in the third Superman film. They brought in Terry Hatcher and Dean Cain, his name is Dean Cain, from Lois and Clark. So they did a lot of really cool little, tips of the hat like that. And I'm hoping that Arrow and the Flash will keep doing things like that. It's kind of hard with Arrow. I mean, what do you do? Maybe have Justin Hartley in an episode, which would be fan-freaking-tastic. I would love that. I don't know who you'd bring him in as, but that would be awesome. You could also have the chick who played Black Canary in Smallville show up in an episode of Arrow. I think that would be pretty cool. Also, I would love to see Tom Welling make an appearance in a Man of Steel movie at some point. Maybe just a cameo, something small on the side, but I think that would be really, really cool. Because still, I love Man of Steel. Man of Steel is a phenomenal movie, but I truly think Tom Welling is my favorite film adaptation of Superman ever, even though he really wasn't quote-unquote Superman, but he was by far the best Clark Kent ever to be on the smaller big screen. So before I forget, Vampire Diaries, it's on its 5th season. Vampire show based off the TV series or book series. It has gone in its own direction. Really, really, really cool show. and the spinoff, The Originals, which is taking place in New Orleans. Both have been really good this season. Done interesting stuff. Character dynamics are still really, really good. They've got just a great batch of actors on both shows. So I really forgot what I was going to say specifically about those. But my final discussion here in TV I'm going to talk about is Glee. I've been following Glee since the second season was on the air, and I saw the first season on DVD, and I fell in love with it. I'm a sappy, emotional old guy. I tear up in damn near every episode, and I love that show. And the last 3 episodes, the one where they went to Los Angeles for Nationals, episode 100, and then the most recent episode, this last week's, which was called crap, I can't remember. Anyway, those 3 episodes have been amazing. A lot of the 4th and 5th seasons, which have taken place in the same school year of the show, have just not been as good as the first 3 seasons, especially not as good as the first 2. These 3 episodes were amazing. The episode in Los Angeles really focused just on the kids at McKinley High and didn't focus on the folks in New York, which a group of the students already graduated, and quite a few of them moved to New York City and are living there and going to a performing arts school. One of the main character, Rachel, is practicing for a revival of Funny Girl on Broadway, and they're 3 roommates, and they all work in the same diner. Anyway, the show focused on their trip to Nationals, and there was a big stipulation, which was if they didn't win Nationals, the Glee Club was getting disbanded because the school was out of money. And any program, any extracurricular, sports team, anything that doesn't win the national title or the biggest title it can is getting cut. And it turns out the New Directions made it to 2nd place. So it was pretty heartbreaking. They also did a really good job of doing a nice remembrance of the character Finn Hudson, who was played by Corey's last name I can't remember at the moment, who died last summer, or this past summer, and he had I believe it was a drug overdose. It was sad because he was really, really young and really talented guy, and apparently a nice dude too. But they did a lot of nice remembrance of him. They'd already done a tribute episode earlier, and it was the 3rd episode of this current season. But that was really good. Then the 100th episode, 100, which was called 100, they brought in pretty much everyone back as saying, hey, this is our 100th lesson. It's also our last week in Glee Club. And so they went back and were performing songs that they'd done over the years, and they brought in everyone. Almost. There were a couple characters missing. It was really, really emotional. And then this week's episode was the final, them saying goodbye to Glee. And it really could have been a series finale. It was just unbelievably good. The other thing that was great is it brought back in the song "Don't Stop Believin'," which they've done a few times on the show. But it was just a superior show, a superior episode. All 3 of them, you could really watch all 3 together and think of it as one episode because they are so intertwined. And I think it just showed how good that show can really be. Now, what's going to happen going forward? Who knows? Because Sue Sylvester, who is played by Jane Lynch, one of the most hilarious characters ever on television, she got the character Will Schuester, who's the Glee coach, got him an interview to coach the Glee Club at a school called Carmel High, which has the team of Vocal Adrenaline, which has been basically the McKinley School's arch nemesis forever in Glee Club. So, yeah, who knows what's going to happen. I hope they keep it going with something really good, but we'll see. And that's pretty much that for TV. And real quick, as just a quick reminder,
you're listening to K98 FM's K98 Talk.
Yeah, that. And all right, now up to the great entertaining world of professional wrestling, or nowadays known as sports entertainment. I've actually really kind of gotten back into wrestling in the last 6-9 months or so. My friend Steve actually and I have hosted a show called Around the Ring, and it's actually there are three of us: Steve's wife Mandy, and myself. And we just, for various different reasons, haven't been able to get together to do the show. But I figured I would do some talking about it because I have been watching a lot lately. I've actually started watching Raw again through Hulu Plus. First time I've watched it in years. The first episode I saw was actually pretty bad. The matches were pretty horrible, honestly. Since then, this last week's episode, the highlights were there was a match between Luke Harper of the Wyatt family and John Cena. And coming up in WrestleMania 30, John Cena is going to be facing Bray Wyatt, who Bray Wyatt is this character of, he's basically a cult leader. He's this crazy, if Hillbilly Jim was some insane cult leader. The entrance music of the family really reminds me of the theme song to the show, True Blood. It's that really eerie, creepy, deep South thing. I mean, these guys have ZZ Top-like beards, long hair. The Bray Wyatt wears this bizarre fedora that is, it's like a weaved fedora out of wicker or something. And he's actually really good in the ring. His promos are so damn creepy. But Luke Harper is one of his followers. Has this match with John Cena. John Cena has been the face of the WWE for a good decade. He is an all-around decent guy. From everything I've seen about him, he's apparently an actual really nice dude. He plays this, good guy, all-American character. He is this kind of white rapper guy. He doesn't rap anymore, thank God, because he's pretty horrible at it. He always wears these really obnoxiously bright clothes. And his little catchphrase is, "Can you see me?" which The Rock made fun of really, really well a few years ago, and I wish I had that clip, because that mess was hilarious. But Cena has taken this role of, I'm basically the face of this company, and if you are an up-and-comer and you want to make it to the big time, you're going to have to go through me. Which, to me, I think is actually the perfect thing for him to do. Because at this point, he doesn't need to be in the main event. He does not need to be the guy holding the belt. He's held it 14 times, which it's close to the number of times that Ric Flair's held it. He certainly doesn't need to beat Flair's record. Because if you talk about importance in wrestling history, yeah, he is one. John Cena is in this echelon of guys as far as popularity, ability to put people in seats, ability to sell merchandise. He's up there in the level with The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin and Hulk Hogan. But people have a real love-hate relationship with him. Right now, he represents everything that people see wrong with the WWE. He's gotten stale. He's been there for 10 years. He's been on top for 10 years. And how many more times do we need to see him win the title? And that's also very similar to what's going on with the world title situation right now. It's held by Randy Orton, who is actually a very talented third-generation wrestler. But he's boring, and the gimmick he's been going with right now is just not working. And then Dave Bautista came back. He'd spent 4 years in Hollywood, and he's really come back because he's in the movie Guardians of the Galaxy, which comes out this summer, and there's going to be a whole lot of double promotion with the WWE and Disney. It's a great business move. I mean, why wouldn't they want to bring him in? But really, this last 10 years, 3 of the guys who've been the top for this time frame have been John Cena, Randy Orton, and Batista. And they really represent that specific era in wrestling history, and people are tired of it. And so Batista comes back, wins the Royal Rumble, and to no fault of his own, gets booed out of the building. Part of that's because people really want to see guys like Daniel Bryan in the main event. They want to see guys like CM Punk back in the main event. And they're really going crazy over guys like Bray Wyatt and guys like The Shield, which brings me back to the other best part of Raw, which was The Shield was in a match against the Real Americans, which are Jack Swagger and this dude named Cesaro, which Cesaro is really tall, and he's built, he's buff, really, really good in the ring, has a weird accent. The only thing that really bugs me about him is he has these almost like armbands on his legs, on his like thighs, and I keep looking at him like, what the hell is that? Why are you wearing that? That's distracting. I mean, yeah, it looks different than anything everyone else has on, but good God, you look dumb. But it was an incredible match, and it's all leading up to, in WrestleMania, The Shield, which are Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins, are going to face Kane and the New Age Outlaws. Now, The Shield's been a heel team for a long time. They did the bidding for CM Punk when he was a heel. They've done the bidding for the Authority, which is Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, who actually do a lot of behind-the-scenes things for the company, and are kind of, in a lot of ways, taking over the company as Vince gets older and is going to step down. But they are also seen as the old guard that people just don't like and are tired of, and the Shield has been part of their muscle. Well, going back to the Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns ended up eliminating 12 people, which is a record. He beat Kane's record. And he ended up it was him and Batista at the very end. He should have won, which would have been phenomenal, but, he's just not quite there yet to be main event, main event status, the guy main eventing WrestleMania. But he's a beast. He's cousins with The Rock, and he's part of that there's this huge Samoan family of wrestlers. The Usos are also part of that. The current tag team champions, they're actually Rikishi's kids, and they're really good. But the Shield had this excellent match where they beat Cesaro and Swagger, and then they went to town on a pretty good, and it was just a really good match. The week before, Kane comes out and is berating Jerry Lawler for an incident that happened the prior week, and he calls out the Shield. The Shield brings Lawler into the ring, and they corner him in the corner and tell him, we always do what's best for business, and then they turn on Kane. Great moment. And really, those 3 guys are going to be absolute superstars, especially Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, especially Roman Reigns. If that guy in the next couple of years isn't the world champion, which is now the unified WWE World Heavyweight Championship, if he is not main eventing, then he pissed someone off, something went wrong somewhere. Because he has the look, he has the moves, and the crowd loves him. The crowd loves all 3 of those guys. They just go nuts anytime they come out. But WrestleMania 30 is coming up soon, like a little less, little less than 2 weeks. The main match is the biggest real match is the Triple H versus Daniel Bryan match. Whoever wins that match is going to be inserted into the main event, which will become a 3-way triple match, which will be Batista against Randy Orton against whoever wins. I think it's pretty safe to say that Daniel Bryan is going to win the match against Triple H and then go on to win the title. He should. He is the most over wrestler in the business, period. There is no one out there that is more popular right now than Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan is getting the kind of reactions from crowds that normally only guys like The Rock or guys like Steve Austin would get. I don't think he's quite in that echelon long term of The Rock and Austin, because that is a Rock, Austin, Hogan. That is a really unique place. And even some of the greatest wrestlers of all time, like Ric Flair or Bret Hart or even Shawn Michaels, they're not in that league. Because guys like Austin, Hogan, and The Rock not only sold tons of merch, and to some extent John Cena. John Cena is on the fringe. He's barely in that. Not quite, but kind of. But Rock, Hogan, and Austin brought so much attention to wrestling from the outside world that it kind of changed things. And that, in some ways, is what Bryan is doing, because you'll be at sporting events completely not related to professional wrestling at all, and the crowds will go up into yes chants, and that's just something really cool to see. So yeah, I think that at the end of the day, we're going to walk out with Daniel Bryan finally with the strap, or straps in this case, because it's actually 2 belts. Rightfully so, because he should have won the title a long, long time ago. So it'll be nice to see it on his waist. The other thing is, of course, it's WrestleMania time, which also means it's the Hall of Fame inductions. Big people going in the Hall of Fame this year: Ultimate Warrior, Jake the Snake Roberts, Paul Bearer, and Razor Ramon. And it's not Scott Hall. He's actually going in as Razor Ramon, which I think is kind of interesting. And one of the theories I heard on another show was that they were doing it that way so that later on they will be inducting the NWO as an entity, and when they induct the NWO, they'll induct him as Scott Hall. I honestly think he should be inducted as Scott Hall, because, I mean, and you can focus on the Razor Ramon gimmick, but he was big Scott Hall in the AWA and made a name for himself. He was in WCW for a while, which not much happened there. He came to the WWE, became Razor Ramon, and that's when things really changed. But then he went on to WCW, and he and Kevin Nash formed the NWO and completely changed wrestling. So I think to just focus on the Razor Ramon bit is a little sad, because there's some wrestlers that are only ever going to be known for one gimmick. And those guys, when you induct them in the Hall of Fame, you induct Koko B. Ware in the Hall of Fame, and yes, he's actually in there. No one gives a crap about any other gimmick Koko B. Ware ever did, because it didn't have an impact. But Razor Ramon did. Scott Hall did. So I think he should be in as Scott Hall, but that's just me. Jake the Snake Roberts is a given. That guy was dominating, and it'll be nice to see him in the Hall. And then the Ultimate Warrior, he's another guy. He was the Dingo Warrior before he tag teamed with Sting. I think it would be really cool if they did mention that. Since the WWE owns all of the video rights for damn near everything in the history of the business. AWA, NWA, everything Jim Crockett owned, WCW, World Class Championship Wrestling. They own all of it. So might as well take advantage of it. especially with the rumblings that Sting has finally signed to the WWE, and he pretty much has from everything that's been said and everything he has said and / not said. So bringing him in, so a mention of Sting would be a nice little moment. So yeah, that is pretty much it. I'd still really like to see the WWE sign AJ Styles, who is currently doing stuff in Ring of Honor and other indie circuit stuff since he left TNA. TNA's kind of floundering. They've got Jeff Hardy back in the Willowmaker gimmick, but that's all they've got. Their champion Magnus he plays the great wimpy heel. He's actually really good at what he does, but he is not believable as a world champion at all because he hasn't won the belt. Every match he's had where he's quote unquote won it, none of them have been clean. So that is pretty much that in the world of the pro wrestling. So now we're going to talk about movies. And this weekend, I think I'm actually going to go see this movie, which is in theaters everywhere and apparently people love. So I'm going to play you the trailer, and then we'll talk a little bit about the book that it came from. Hopefully it'll start here.
You nervous?
How are you? For your test?
No. I was terrified.
The only way our society can survive is for each of you to claim your rightful place. Today, you will take a test that will help you discover who you truly are. The future belongs to those who know where they belong.
You ready?
This isn't real.
Your results were inconclusive.
This was supposed to tell me what to do. We're supposed to trust the test.
Didn't work on you. They call it divergent. You can't let them find out about you. They're always watching. You have to hide, or they'd never expect to find you.
Welcome to Dauntless. 2 stages of training. The first is physical. Push your bodies to the breaking point. You're never gonna win, not like that.
It's good to know.
Keep tension here, okay? The second is mental. Face your worst fears and conquer them.
You made a mistake choosing Dauntless. They'll find out about you.
I know what you are. It's been a long time since I could trust anyone. I don't want to be just one thing. I want to be brave and selfless and intelligent and honest and kind. If you want to survive, follow me.
Divergence threaten the system. It won't be safe until they're removed.
We have to fight back.
Ready?
All right, that's based off of the book of the same name, Divergent. It just came out a few years ago, written by Veronica Roth, and it's a great book. It's set in a dystopian future, which is, kind of a big thing right now. The dystopians it's their time. Vampires were the thing, and then we had some fantasy action and a little bit of myth-based fantasy got popular there for a while, and so now it's the dystopian thing, a la the Hunger Games, and this place takes place, which I didn't realize at the time, but it's actually in Chicago. The whole idea behind it is everyone's personality falls within a few different types, and you go and live with what's called your faction, which is based on your personality. And some people are ones that don't fall into any one particular faction, and they're called Divergents, and they're apparently a scary, scary thing. And yeah, the movie stars Shailene Woodley, who was going to play Mary Jane in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but got cut. Not sure if she's going to be in Spider-Man 3 or not. She's best known for that show my daughter loves, Secret Life of American Teenager, where first season she gets all preggers, and you get to see the dealings of pregger teens and the joys and sorrows behind that. So excitingness there. But she's a really, really good actress. And I think she probably fits the part really well. My daughter went to see the movie and loved it. And she's normally not one for those kind of films. So the plan is this weekend I'm going to go see that with my daughter. And it should be a lot of fun. It looks great. The movie, the trailers just look fantastic. So I'm excited. I loved the books. I'm in the second book right now. The other movie I wanted to talk about is one I already saw, based off of one of my favorite TV shows of all time, the one and only Veronica Mars. And here's the trailer. Maybe. Come on.
You were issued a private investigator's license for your 18th birthday? What do you think that says about a person?
Compulsive, addictive personality, but that's not me anymore.
My daughter, the big shot New York lawyer. You're destined for greatness.
I've oversold you. My parents don't think that I could have landed a creature such as the one that I've described.
Local authorities have ruled the death a homicide and are focusing their investigation on her boyfriend, Logan Eccles.
I need your help, Veronica.
I don't really do that anymore.
What's this? I specifically told the agency an eager-to-please brunette.
Dick.
Hey, Logan, that girl who follows you around is here.
9 years of radio silence, and yet I still kind of knew I could count on you.
We are going to the reunion.
I'm shocked you even came to this. I knew you'd be here. You've been sitting there since graduation, haven't you?
Veronica Mars.
Look who it is. Most likely to blog and class buzzkill.
You are just who I was looking for. Most likely to know where I can find the bar. Gross.
No.
Veronica, this is the whole case file. How'd you get this? I'm sure you know breaking and entering is a felony.
Come on. I knew the felonies before I knew the state capitals.
So, you gonna ask if I did it?
I wouldn't be here if I thought you did.
America thinks he's guilty, and that's good enough for me. I know Logan has his qualities, but there's a darkness to that kid.
There's just so much going on here right now. I just couldn't leave.
Sure you could.
Wait. Don't go. I'm on to something, Dad. It's big.
Just the tip of the iceberg. Everyone is on the take. Veronica, whatever you're doing, please be careful.
Come on. Mom needs a sample.
What are you gonna do? Just stand down on me? Don't you think that's gotten a bit old? Original enough for you?
All right, so yeah, seriously, Veronica Mars, one of the best shows ever freaking made. This movie I saw opening weekend. Might have actually been opening night. In fact, I think it was. My daughter Skylar and I went to see it, and it was everything we could have hoped for. Everything and more. It was a religious experience. It was so good. The show is, for those of you who've never seen it, and probably most of you haven't, was about a girl who is a teenage detective, kind of Nancy Drew-ish, right? Her best friend was murdered. Her dad was the sheriff, and because he started asking questions of some very powerful people in town, ended up getting kicked out of office. And she helped eventually solve the murder. She then went to college, which was the last season of the show. And the series picks up basically 9 years later after the show ends. And she's with the same guy that she started dating in college, a guy named Piz, a really nice guy. And she gets a call from her ex-boyfriend, Logan, who had been very involved in the other seasons, and he is being basically suggested that he murdered his girlfriend, which he didn't. And hilarity ensues. And it's the story behind the movie is that Kristen Bell and Rob Thomas, the star and Kristen Bell is the star, and then Rob Thomas, the creator, jumped onto Kickstarter and said, "Look, if we can raise $2 million, we will do a movie." 48 hours later, they had raised like $5 million, and so yeah, it was the fastest Kickstarter ever, and the movie looks phenomenal, and it's just really, really good. They brought back everybody. In fact, I don't think there's like one character that didn't come back, but she was only in the 3rd season. Otherwise, they brought back, well, 2 characters, her and then the character of Duncan, who just watch the 2nd season and you'll understand why he didn't come back. But phenomenal. Can't say enough good things about it. And so, yeah, I thought I was going to give you more on that review than I did, other than just saying it's awesome. But, you know.
You are now tuned into the Bush Leagues of Talk Radio, right here on the all-new K98 Talk.
That's all I got to say, because we are not professionals here at K98Talk.com at all. So we're going to go into the last segment of the show, which is music. So I got a couple of albums I want to talk to you guys about that I really think you should go out and get. The first one is called Metropool, I believe is how it's pronounced. It's by the Lawrence Arms. And here, I'm going to give you a little taste. This is the song Beautiful Things. It's the 2nd or 3rd track on the record.
Century on the cusp. We were riding smoking on the sidewalks. We were lovers drinking to another song on the jukebox.
And I would play more, but, you know, there's that whole copyright thing. You know, actually, I waited long enough. Let me let you hear the chorus. Here's the chorus.
All the beautiful things I was searching for truth in the dust of my days.
See, you know, if you play a little bit under 30 seconds and stop, and then play a little bit more, we're not breaking the rules, people. Anyway, the whole record, in a lot of ways, sounds like that. The Lawrence Arms, this band from Chicago, one of the many bands that kind of grew out of the ashes of this band called, oh my god, I just totally forgot. They were a ska punk band. Dan Adriano, whose name I just totally mispronounced, from Alkaline Trio came from them. Slapshot? No? Crap. Anyway, really good ska punk band out of Chicago. And the Lawrence Arms, a couple of guys, Brendan Kelly, who is one of the main singers, came from there. And I really honestly missed out on Lawrence Arms. They hadn't put out a record for 9 years, and it was either last year or the year before. It was the year before. The bass player Brendan Kelly put out a solo record, or a record with his band, the Wandering Birds, and I really, really liked it. And so when it came out that the Lawrence Arms were putting out a new record, I decided I was going to have to check it out. Well, then I also heard this artist, Sundowner, which is the guitar player and also one of the other singers of Lawrence Arms, and I can't remember his actual real name, and I really liked it. So it was a no-brainer. This new record comes out. The thing about it, these guys obviously come from a punk scene, but really, to me, when I listen to this record, what I hear more than anything else is the Goo Goo Dolls, and the fact that it is basically straight up rock anthems, kind of like the Goo Goo Dolls would play. And also, Brendan Kelly mentioned in an interview that when he started out, he was trying to sing like the other guy in the Goo Goo Dolls. For those of you who don't know, the Goo Goo Dolls they have two guys who sing in the band. The primary guy, who sounds a lot like Paul Westerberg, and then the bass player. And the bass player did some really good songs. And so yeah, he wanted Brendan Kelly wanted to sound like that dude. So it's something I really do hear. Here's another song. The song is called 17er, 17th, and 37th. This one is really good because it talks a lot about getting old. And as those of us who are creeping up there in the age, really middle age is really starting to kick us in the ass, this is something that I listen to and I identify with. So check this out.
I never wanted to die, but it's too late now. My heart has grown so cold, and the corpse I leave behind ain't gonna be no pretty boy. It's a sick sack of disease. We thought about where's we love to go, high and beautiful.
See, that's some good stuff right there. And that one also has a great little chorus, which we'll play here in just a second. In fact, let's bring that up, see if we can't find that chorus. That's not there yet. Turn it back down. Anyway, so okay, here it comes. Nope, not yet. Dang it. Oh, good stuff. Man, I'll tell you what, that is some really, really good stuff there. The whole album, I mean, there are moments of silliness, there's moments of anger, because Brendan Kelly is an angry dude. But it is really good. If you like the sound of those two songs, I cannot recommend the record enough. Last, real quick, and I'm running out of time, so last one up, this record came out this week, Chuck Reagan's fourth full-length album. It is called Till Midnight, and it's pretty much everything you expect from one Mr. Chuck Reagan. This song is the opening track. It's called Something May Catch Fire. Check this out. Yeah, this song is pretty general of what you're going to get in the album. Very rootsy, old country stuff. Unlike his last album, Covering Ground, which was a very sparse, stripped-down record, which was basically him on an acoustic guitar, and then a stand-up bass and fiddle, which are the guys he tours with when he goes out on the road, especially on the Revival tour. This record, kind of like Gold Country, really brings in a full band sound, and I think it is really something that the music benefits from. The first song that was released in anticipation of the record was called Non-Typical. And here's a little taste of that. We'll get a little bit more of that here in just a second. And in fact, let's I'll give it until the chorus wraps in. But yeah, whole record very rootsy, very catchy, and Chuck Ragan has a very powerful voice in his rasp and in his reach.
Swallow the sentimental truth. It'll never be as good as it gets. Non-typical, it's really something else. When one is back into the call of what's wild and wood. Infatuation, turn desire into devotion to rectify the fire.
So yeah, this is another record. It's going to easily be one of my favorites of the year. Till Midnight by Chuck Ragan, out on Side One Dummy Records. The other record we discussed was Metropole, again, I think that's how it's pronounced, by the Lawrence Arms, which you can get on Epitaph Records. Both should be relatively easy to get your hands on. Worst case scenario, Amazon or iTunes will hook you up in both cases. My name is Dave. This has been the Morning Mashup. I appreciate you guys joining us, and hope it didn't suck too bad. Maybe doing this again next week, may not. You never know. The plan is at some point to be doing this mess a lot more often, but until then, I appreciate everyone tuning in, and if you listen to the podcast, thank you. Feel free to shoot me an email, oklahomalefty@gmail.com. That's oklahomalefty with a Y, Lefty @gmail.com. And appreciate it. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, hit me up, and I may get back to you at some point. Not always the most dependable person in the world, but I know this about myself, so I'm working on it. Anyway, thanks again for listening to K98 Talk, and I hope everyone has a great day. Let the bad blood run and everything in the past begun. It all fade like a dream. Fade like a dream.
You are now tuned into the Bush Leagues of Talk Radio, right here on the all-new K98 Talk.